we'll go ahead and begin the meeting at 4:01 p.m. Let's start with just a roll call introductions. So we'll start at the very end.
Hi, I'm Zach. Hey, everybody. And pleased to meet you. I am Zach Goldsmith. This is my third year on the senior side. I was thinking about this the other day. Third year on the board. I am the vice chair this year, and this is my third to last meeting.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, I was like, it just like popped in my head the other day. I was like,
Wow.
all right? I was just,
Hello.
so, hi, I'm Zach. I don't have much else.
You're gonna have to use your microphone.
Oh, my microphone?
So that they will be able to hear you in the public.
There we go.
Please make sure that you speak into your mic.
Was it on?
Actually worked.
They're all on. We just need to make sure that you guys speak into the mic so that people, especially if we have people who have hearing.
Okay. I'm Jeannie, and I'm taking somebody's place who had to move on or something. And I think my first meeting was May,
Okay.
but I don't know how long his term was.
We can look that up. It might have been another 2 years.
I want to say it was another year at least.
Year.
but-
Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
another year.
We can find out.
Whatever. I'm good.
Okay. We'll let you know.
Yes, I think it's through the end of next year you'll be
Yeah.
appointed.
Okay, I'm Linda Vogel. I am serving as secretary now, and this is my second year.
Okay.
Angela McConville. This is my last year on this board. I'm chair this year with, Zach is vice chair with me, and I look forward to someone else filling the seat. So get applications in, people.
Yeah, it seems like I'm going to have to get a lot of applications.
The vacancies have
Yes,
been,
ma'am.
the vacancies are being advertised right now.
Yes,
So.
yeah.
I'm Lorraine Dorfman. I guess I'm the third one in this round who is expiring. I mean, my term is expiring
Now.
Oh, goodness now.
at the end of the year. So it sounds like there are three of us who are going to have to be
Yeah.
replaced.
Yeah.
We're leaving it in really good hands, though. These
Yes,
people
we
here.
are.
Hi, I'm Paula Vaughn. I think I've been on here about a year and a half. I came to one meeting in person, and the rest have been Zoom.
Yeah.
So, hello.
Latasha Deloach, Senior Center Coordinator, staff.
Kristen Crummery, Operations Assistant, the Senior Center.
Awesome. So if everybody has been able to review the minutes that were in the packet for today, I would take any recommendations for changes or amendments to the minutes, or if we all agree that the minutes look good, I would accept a motion to approve. Awesome.
That was close enough.
I'll
So
second.
moved.
Motion to approve the minutes of August 19th, 2021. All right, any second?
I'll second.
Awesome. Anybody oppose, everybody approve? Any?
Yes.
Yay, okay.
Aye.
We're actually in person. It's very awkward
Yeah.
to do this not over Zoom. We would just, if anybody opposed, we would say something, but anybody oppose? All right, minutes pass. Public discussion for items not on the agenda. Young lady, do you have anything that you would like to bring forward
She's
to
not
the
paying us no
commission?
attention.
I was just trying to tease her. Sorry, I have teenagers.
She won't hear a thing. She's got her earbuds in.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, that's typical. All right, next item is operational overview. We have probably a lot to chat about today.
A couple of things. I may inadvertently jump between building update and programming just because they're kind of connected, but I try to separate them a little bit. So our budgets are due for the city tomorrow. So Kristen and I and the rest of the staff have been working on that. And so we have some different requests in that budget. One, I'm looking hopefully for one additional full-time person here at the senior center because we really need one more additional full-time person that could really help us, because I think we've only had 3 full-time people here outside of the coordinator position for many many years. And so we definitely are in need, especially as we are moving forward, and the changes and the renovations that will happen here in the building will allow for more programming opportunities and more funding needs, more grants that need to be written, etc., and more marketing that needs to be done. So we have a request in for that. We're also requesting for a little bit of an increase for our work study students so that they'll be able to make the $15 an hour here when they're working. Right now, we currently have no work study, so that's preventing us from doing any weekend and night hours. And so we're also requesting for a little bit of one or the other to be able to have some of those hours taken care of. Of course, we're always going to be looking for opportunities for technology. We were granted a close to $10,000 grant from a community foundation to help us with some of our technology needs, to be able to continue to provide more hybrid opportunities for folks who are a little hesitant to come into the building. And so we want to be able to continue to work towards our goal of ending social isolation and also keeping people involved who have continued to be involved. So we want to continue, obviously, working towards that vision that we have here. As you notice, if you look around, the assembly room has been painted. I hope you all notice the difference. It definitely went from green to this lovely color. And we are grateful for it. It does make a difference, and it kind of brightens the room up a little bit. So it looks better on most people. The green didn't always go so well with everybody. So this color seems to work a lot better. So we're very thankful to our custodial staff who took on the charge of getting this done and did a wonderful job. So enjoying that. We are purchasing, is it called a side stepper, Kristen? Size step. We're purchasing more equipment every year. We've been requesting to be able to update our equipment. Our cardio equipment goes out much faster than our weight system that we have, the Kaiser system that we have downstairs. So we are working to be able to update those every year to switch some out, because the one we have down there is, I can't remember. I know it's probably over a decade old, so it's time to switch that out and get something new. So we had a couple different offers and found one that worked really well for us and worked well with the people that we serve here. So excited about that. We're looking into purchasing some new furniture downstairs for our new area that we have, our new reception area that we implemented this year. So definitely looking to get some furniture so folks who are waiting for rides, etc., have a comfortable place to be. Definitely looking into having more wipeable furniture, so vinyl type of furniture. So it just kind of helps us during cold and flu season and the ongoing pandemic. I think we're still in, but it seems like some people have forgotten, but that we need to be able to wipe down furniture versus more cloth furniture, which is a little harder to kind of maintain in a public setting. So we're doing some of that work. And I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Also, letting you all know that if you are looking online, we do have our program guides translated now. They are translated into, I believe, Arabic and Spanish, I think, are the two languages. Our hope is to add French. So we are developing currently a brochure pamphlet kind of thing that tells more about the Senior Center in multiple languages, including Chinese, Arabic, French, and Spanish. And maybe one other language, I'm not sure, but that we'll be able to disseminate. So this is also why I'm requesting in my new position, a person have some marketing experience, because right now we're kind of stretched all over the place with all of us trying to do these marketing pieces. And so it'd be helpful to be able to kind of bring that into one role. Also, as well as needing a person who has some development background as we continue to look at estate planning and different things like that will help us as we continue to try to provide revenue and offset some of our expenses here at the Senior Center. So that's where we are in reference to programming updates. Questions about any of that? I know I speak kind of quickly, but hopefully clearly enough that I'm understandable. Thoughts, questions, feedback?
Okay, we can
Sounds
move on to
good.
building.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. For the building update, so I just want you all to be aware that currently in our city, what we call CIP, which is our capital improvement projects, we call it CIP for short, we have about $1.9 million to assist us with the historical renovations that's necessary here for this building. So we've been working really hard with a local architectural firm that's been meeting with us and talking with us and walking through the building and looking at all the places that nobody gets to go into, the closets where the broom's hitting in the back, kind of places to kind of do good assessments of the building. And we have been able to kind of section out different parts of the building. So we know there's always been a nice focus on the kitchen, given that the kitchen has never been operated by the senior center, requires us to do some additional things that we didn't have to do before, right? So that was always initially was a Meals on Wheels, and then it kind of went to default, and it was just kind of being used for our congregate meals, and now we're currently not doing congregate meals, just the pandemic. And so, but there has been a desire amongst members and community members, et cetera, to get the kitchen up and going. And so as a director, I'm looking specifically at how is this helping us with programming? How does this potentially help us with revenue? What does it look like to be able to have the kitchen be able to be function as a catering kitchen or as a large events in this space for people to have access to that type of kitchen? And so, how can we rent it out in other ways? And so that's what we're looking at. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, are they thinking about also using it like as a teaching?
Yes,
Okay.
the hope is for it to be a programming / teaching / catering kitchen, right? So we'll provide programming, teaching people about nutritional meals or learning how to bake fun cakes or whatever it might be, but it will be programming specifically for our population. And as you all know, a lot of our classes, even though they're here at the Senior Center, they're open to all ages if they're not member required. And also that our membership start to age 50. If you're 49 and a half, I'll give you a break. But, we will have plenty of opportunities for folks to be able to utilize that space. It's going to be limited, right? Because it's not like the kitchen is as big as this room. So, we may be able to, with some social distancing, et cetera, be able to put 2 people at ends of a table to work on some projects, different things like that. But it will allow us to do some of those things, but while also in early morning hours, maybe late evening, allowing for some catering opportunities for people who need to make large meals, and open to the community to be able to rent as well. If you have a huge salsa garden that you did this year and you really want to be able to sell that, we'll be able to have a commercial kitchen here that can be licensed, that people can be able to get things. I think it would be a great way to assist with small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses that have more food that we consider ethnic food, that have opportunity to sell some things. So it'd be a really great seed kitchen. I guess that's what they kind of call it, where you're able to do some of that. So that's going to be pricey. We don't have the exact numbers. We do know overall the project probably will run us between 10 to 15 million over 5 years, which is a nice chunk of change. And as a person receiving that number, you go, oh Lord. But the beautiful thing is, and we're talking with the historic renovation folks who specializes, that the building is in really, really good shape. It needs some work. Okay, there hasn't been a major renovation at this building since it opened. I'm not talking post office open, but as when it opened as a senior center. So we're talking early 80s. We just celebrated our 40th, so it's been about 40 years since we've had a major renovation here, and it's been maintained well. It's been maintained really, 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 really well. But there are some things. There's some immediate needs that's happening that a lot of this 1.9 is probably going to go to, and that's specifically looking at the outside of the building, right? We know when you come into the building, it needs a little TLC, right? Especially those Lynn Street doors, which are historic doors. Those need some waterproofing. And we know if you go up the stairs in the hallway here, it's a need of some waterproofing just because of some of the things that are going on. So it's going to take some of that. I could throw out the words parapets and enveloping, but like I realize the general public doesn't know because I barely knew some moments. I was like, what? Oh, right. And so we have some things we need to do with some of the stones over time are starting to move and shift, and so we need to repair some different things. So a lot of that we have a responsibility as stewards, good stewards of a public building, to make sure that that's maintained. So those things will be probably the most immediate needs, because we need to waterproof the building before we do any major things on the inside of the building, so that the things that we end up putting in here doesn't get wet. So we will be working on some of those things. Some of the other things that we're looking at, the building really needs some updated HVAC and plumbing and electric and different things. We need LED lights. We still are some of the few facilities here that are still using these older lights, and it'll just be more efficient, and it'll be better from a sustainability to be able to switch out our lights to have LED lights instead of having I forgot what these ones are called, but they're fluorescents, to switch from fluorescents to LED lights. It's better for eyes, as well as we know we're working with older population, and your eyes age. Trust me, I already got to go to the ophthalmologist. Like, I cannot read when I look down. So it's time for probably some bifocals or something. I'm like, no, but eyes age. And so we want to make sure we have the right lighting to be able to support folks who are in our lobbies and in different places that are reading. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of that, and then the sustainability piece as well. We are also requesting in our budget, as well as we're going to be reaching out to friends to look at a feasibility study, which will be able to help us to kind of figure out how much money do we think is out there that would support the senior center and these renovations, right? We know some of this is going to come from the city, of course, but we are going to need support from our members and from community members to help us to be able to do these renovations. So a fundraising capital campaign is definitely on the horizons. And so we'll be looking into those things. But some of the things we need to think about as a commission is we can renovate this building. We can put $15 million, and we don't know what that looks like with inflation over the years, right, into the building, but it's not going to address some of our primary concerns. So our primary concerns here is parking. What do we can make this building jazzy, but if it's not going to allow people to come and park, what do? It's not going to address the fact that we are downtown, and there is hesitancy sometimes amongst older adults to come downtown. It's not addressing those issues. So we can have this beautiful facility, and then we can still have these barriers that are going to prevent people from coming into the doors. So I think at some point we need to have some discussion about what that means, what our commitment is. With that price tag, somebody was like, well, you could build a whole brand new building for that amount. And that's true, right? I think the average, I can't even remember how much an elementary school costs, but I think it's close to that amount, and that's a brand new elementary school. So we just have to kind of think about that. Obviously, we all love this building. It's endured a lot. The historical renovation, being downtown, etc. There's so many positive things about being right here, but there is a conversation that is had at some point, and it doesn't have to be had if our commission, if you all are like, nope, this is where we are, this is where we stayed, then there's no conversation that needs to be had. But at some point we may reach out and try to do some type of assessment about that. What does that look like? Do we renovate a place that has more parking, or do we stay here and try to figure out the parking situation here? So I know some of you guys are leaving, but it's going to be some work over the next couple of months or so, because we haven't quite got to the design phase. Right now we're just in the master planning phase to look at what is the trajectory of this plan, what is the trajectory of this building, as the senior center. So, I was talking to the architect. I said, now I need you giving me platinum prices. Now, what does it look like if we go down to gold, or maybe the silver model? I'm like, what can we if we could dress it up and look cute, but it don't have to be as expensive. Like, I need some alternatives to these numbers. And so my hope is that when we get that plan, that we'll be able to have that and be able to go, okay, platinum is fantastic. This is everything we want. But what are some things we can live with and not live with, and see what that does to our price tag. And that'll also help us have some more discussion. But if you have questions, comments, and concerns, throw them at me. Any answers I don't have, I will try to get them to you.
Well, I just had a comment. You mentioned hesitancy of older people to go downtown. It may be that in part, but I think a bigger problem is the lack of access to good parking.
Yeah.
I mean, here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the ramp is full. Well, at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's even worse. I mean, and try to find a space downtown. So I think as long as that problem isn't resolved, there's going to be an issue with people coming here.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew had a magic bullet, but
yeah. That's my thing to everybody. Yeah, that's my thing has always been like, it's great, but parking is since the moment I stepped in the door, even when I had my welcome reception, the first thing people complained about was parking, and I was like, I've been here 24 hours. I don't know the answer. And it's just been ongoing. And right now, with the ramp being half closed due to the needs over there, I don't know the answers, right? Because the parking doesn't belong to us. We run this building, and we try to work with the parking transportation department, and we have some suggestions, some parking ride suggestions, and some different things like that could potentially happen, but everything we're going to come up with is going to be costly. It doesn't matter. It's going to be costly. And so we don't know the answer, but I promise you, parking never leaves the conversation in this building. It is brought forth daily from people who are coming to the building, whether they're coming for a meeting, whether they're coming to work out, a class, etc., to the staff going, oh, this parking, like, where am I going to park today?
Who owns the lot that's across the street?
I think that's owned by the bank. Yeah. And we have reached out to them and have got a very resounding no, because we've asked even for just one spot that we could reserve that could even be for appointments or something. And it's just, and I understand it. I mean, that's a prime parking. So, they have partnerships with other restaurants
But
after
what I was
certain
thinking
hours.
was, is it feasible? It's probably not big enough to do it, but what if that could be taken over, whatever the city can do, to put in a parking garage? It wouldn't be huge, but it would be 2-story or 3-story, gives you something. Yeah, because the parking now we've only been here a couple of years, and this parking's gone downhill.
Yeah.
time.
And there's lots of construction, and the more construction it is, the more construction people need to be in the parking ramp while they're doing construction downtown. I don't know that whole situation. I can reach out. I don't have the answer for that, but I know we have reached out at least for the parking lot that does currently exist, and it's just.
Well, maybe there's something they could work out with the city. It'd be good for them. They'd have more parking over there also.
Yeah, I definitely will make a note.
I'm sure you're going to get a no, but it was
but you never know. And I think it might be for sale. I think I saw a for sale sign over there. Yeah.
It's been for sale for a long time.
It's been for sale for a long time, because I'm
depends,
sure
do you have
the price tag is not inexpensive.
I was going to say, if a property looks like it's in a prime spot, it's going to be costly. And if a government is looking at it and considering it, they're going to even raise the price more if they think that it's appealing to us.
Yeah,
that's why
it's
do everything in closed session when it requires discussion.
They should take care of us old people.
Yeah.
Well, so a cap.
People have tons and tons and tons of money.
Yeah, well, we know they don't.
I know, but I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
And the capital improvement projects program that a city puts together it covers 5 years. They look ahead 5 years. Okay, what are our expenses? How can we plan for them in our upcoming budgets? How are we going to prioritize projects? Well, we'll just push that off another year. If it's not on that 5-year plan, now it's hard to get it on. So you're looking at 6 years out or 7 years out from where you're at. If you do a request, that's going to be expensive like that.
Well, I think you're right. In a couple months or so, we need to look at, and as much as I would hate to leave this building because I love the building, we might need to look at something that's more amenable where you can,
Where would you go?
North Liberty.
That's
we go.
not.
I don't know if that'll work so well.
Yeah, City of Iowa City wouldn't like
there's,
that.
You're not going to get the city of Iowa City to pay for it if it's not within the
actually, I know one
confines
spot,
of
and they
Iowa
would
City.
never put it in there, is the one where everybody's raising a little bit of heck now, is what the university owns, that they're willing to put something on is, was that Park Road? Park and Riverside. Sort of Riverside. It's up from Hancher. You got Hancher, then you got
Oh,
a street, and then
okay,
you got that
yeah.
big
I know what you're talking about.
green area. They'd probably have a heart attack if you did that over in the neighborhood, but it would be big enough.
Lorraine
What?
could walk.
That thing's
Oh, it's
getting
a couple
massive.
blocks
There you go. Well, I mean, we could walk there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, right?
Not the
We
old
have to
band
have some
building.
discussion about it. Obviously, what's going to happen is that our architectural organization will come and do a presentation to you all probably in December. Unfortunately, some of you all will also be partying after that, but they will be coming, and then you all will need to make a recommendation to City Council for them to also hear the presentation. And then we'll have to go through a process of probably gathering some information and really finding out, are we going to stick it here or are we going to look forward? Because it's a heck of an investment. If it was just $2 or $3 million, but we're talking 10 plus, and that is really to address a lot of but I said that's the platinum price. Now I don't know what the gold price is. The gold price might be 8 or 9. But I'm just saying, platinum price is 10 to 15 for sure, and that's doing all the things that we hope this building could do, making things easier for people, looking at sight lines and all the things, right? New furniture, new flooring, that's looking at everything, new elevator over time, that kind of thing. So we don't really, I can't really tell you all of those numbers because sometimes those numbers spin around in my head when I'm looking at them. But I just want to make you all aware. I don't feel like it should be a secret, but there is a presentation that'll come probably in December, and we're going to have some more conversation. I'm pretty sure some people have strong opinions either way. But as a coordinator, my goal is wherever we land, I'm going to push that agenda. That's my responsibility to you all and to the public. So either way, I told the staff, I'm like, I don't care either way. The Senior Center has a job to do here in this community, and we need to find the best way that we can do that, the best way we can serve people, because they have worked and they deserve to be able to have access to their programs and access to the things that they want. And so I'm going to advocate for that wherever that may be. If that's here, fine, we're going to be here. That's somewhere else, fine, I'll be over there too. So it's going to be up to the commission to vote on that. So
Maybe we should stay on.
I don't know. I'm just saying the voting is going to be more than minutes here coming up soon.
Well, in December, we'll get to hear the presentation. But
an interesting analogy is what happened when they opened IRL. People really like going out there, even though it may be a little further, because they don't have the problem of where to put the car. Mm-hmm. So even though University Hospital might be closer to where people live, the fact that there's an alternative where they don't have
it's
to
very
worry
popular.
Right.
So North Liberty just went through this process. So we hired an architectural firm to to lay out two options for us. So the option would be to stay at City Hall where it's at, where we rent our facility. We've been there for a few years. It's not owned by us. It's far away from the city center. Versus here we've got this parcel in the city center next to the new police department. You know, we weighed the pros and cons. We had the city council vote on it, and they decided to then move us and build new, you know, on a different parcel that would have better access, walkability, all of that stuff that we were looking for. So, I mean, and the prices were actually very comparable. It's just you know, you shouldn't have to renovate a whole new building for your growth in the future and all that stuff. It would have been better to start new and clean and build for growth in a new spot. So, yeah, that would be the next step, is getting this facilities plan in place, which you're working on right now. This is what's going to cost to renovate this place, and then having them look at what it would cost to build new somewhere else, and then weighing the pros and cons of that. But I think location is going to be really important because, you know, my seniors in North Liberty aren't going to want to drive to the east side of Iowa City either. I mean, they might not want to drive downtown, but they're sure not going to drive 50 minutes to get to a place to go do something. So where would be the right spot that's affordable and accessible and central? And also, my background, city planning. So when you move something from the city center, you're losing something there too. It's a dynamic, it's an energy, it's growth and investing in your, you know, infrastructure in your, inner area. And so ecumenical tower people are going to lose that connection too. So
yeah, there's
There's
lots
lot
of
to
pros
weigh.
and cons to either way. You know, it's like you could move and then you can have all the parking you want, so anybody can come in at any time, or you can, you know what I'm saying? So it's like there's so many pieces. And honestly, I think that, you know, if parking wasn't an issue, I think people from all over the place
Does
would
the senior
come.
center just to have to have one center only?
that's what I was going to say. What about the hub and spoke idea? So this
Yeah,
is the
I mean,
hub,
we
and then
definitely-
you build a new facility for just the fitness part somewhere else, and you know, I don't know, or
Fitness seems to be the big driver for people who want to have parking, and it's the thing that brings people in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. And if the senior center built like the senior center fitness club for, yeah, right? Just popped in my head. But the senior center fitness club, and we just raised a little bit of money for that and bought a parcel of land somewhere centralized and built that, and then took out that space in the basement, and all that stuff that's in the basement now gets moved to there instead. And I don't know, you might have to build a fee of a much reduced fee compared to what you would do to like go to North Dodge or some other place, but I don't know.
We're pretty reduced right now for $40 a year. Even $75 a year. I mean, that's
right?
still
it's very
you know,
it's very nominal,
less than $5 a month or so.
comparatively. And have that, but make it someplace that actually could get a parking. You could even find some place that already is built, you know, and we could just sublet it and then turn it into that. You know, like a mini mall someplace. We could probably find some place over like on Riverside over by what used to be Paul's and stick it into that.
Anything is possible. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I really like that idea, Zach. Or is there an existing fitness club that
Would work
would be
with
willing
us.
to,
would
you
be
know,
willing to-
accommodate seniors come at this time, or?
What about the,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's called the is it the athletic club?
Athletic club got torn down.
Yeah, it's closed.
Gone.
It's what?
It's gone.
The athletic club, they used to be.
Well, what I'm thinking about, it's on Dodge.
Oh, no.
Oh, that athletic club.
I don't know if that's what that's called.
Yes.
I don't know. I wonder if they'd be amenable to it, because I don't even know how many people go there. I think a couple of our neighbors do.
North Dodge Athletic Club.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
There are a lot of fitness centers that I would thinking outside the box here, instead of it being one spot for all the seniors to go, because there's so many already and some of them are really hurting. Is there any way to maybe we could get a drastically reduced price for senior hours? Or something like that?
It depends on people's business model.
Yeah.
The other thing is the reason why our fitness center is so popular is because we specifically purchase equipment that is made for people 50 and older. So we would also be asking for them to invest in these machines that are $5,000 to $7,000 each, right? To specifically use this type of equipment. And that's the thing that makes it so popular, right? Is that there's no other equipment in town
like this.
that is like what we have here. And so that's what makes it unique, because it can work for anybody. It really can work for anybody. And so, and it's accessible. We're able to remove seats if people have a wheelchair. We're able to do different things that a lot of other places do not have access to. So that's what makes it also very popular. It also works really well for people who are in physical therapy, because it's set up so that people can do some of the same things in physical therapy.
I guess I don't know, because the community center's right here, and I swim over there, which, by the way, it has a really nice pool. It's got a small workout area there now, but is there anything in that building where we could expand out and use that? Which, by the way, you can always get a parking spot over there. I don't know why, and I don't question it, but I think people think it's reserved, and it's not.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think because it's metered too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that every other thing around here, except, well, the parking garages you're paying.
It's
so they're all
Parks and
metered.
Rec is the thing, though, and it's got its own. It's Parks and Rec.
It's
So
what?
it's part of Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation.
So
yeah.
it's its own division, whereas we are senior center and we're our own
Right,
division.
but I'm wondering,
so-
well, I mean, it's both the city, just wondered if they could expand. I'd ask Julie and see, 'cause she's over.
Yeah, could there not be some kind of partnership?
I mean.
Yeah, we definitely have a meeting tomorrow. And I think we're at the beginning stages of going, what are options? So these are really good suggestions that I definitely can take back to other people who make bigger decisions than I do about what does that look like? Does that take away from other operations if we come in and, because you got to remember it's going to be about space and equipment and access and a lot of other different things.
During the day, I would say that's the most underutilized community.
Oh yeah, at night it's packed in there, but
Right.
during the day,
you can go over and swim and nobody's around and none of the rooms are being used. I mean, I guess, it is being used because the band from here,
is over there.
Tim, over there, and then you can never find a parking spot. 'Cause
Yeah.
They're all over there and they do that, I don't know, twice a week, 3
Yeah.
times a week. But to me, if there was some way to work with them, I mean, they're catty corner from us. You're right there.
Yeah.
You could even do shuttles back and forth between.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything is possible. We definitely are having an interdepartmental meeting for departments that are doing a lot of community outreach pieces tomorrow to be able to talk more about cross collaborations and how do we, if your building is underutilized and our building is overflowing, how do we partner together to be able to move some things around, because we're all in the same organization. So that definitely is conversations that are happening.
Just tell her she's creative. She can come up with something, Julie.
thing is, though, I agree with you, Linda, but the thing is, I know that having been there also, the equipment is, they would definitely need some equipment for
Yeah, they need it upgraded.
Yeah.
people with wheelchairs, people with.
Yeah.
They do have access.
And I don't know if that room is big enough to accommodate unless they have another space available.
Well, but they could, don't think about what the space is, because you can knock walls out.
Right.
But you've got the gym
Right.
that's used, but they could reconfigure that.
It's a space issue.
Yeah.
It definitely is a space issue because, the thing is what do you take away? Because I've seen some of their staff offices and they're basically in old storage rooms, in some situations. So at all of our rec centers, it would be a space issue. So if we move this, then we lose half the gym. If we do this, then what? You know what I'm saying? So, it definitely is a question. They're going through a facilities master's plan as well.
So they can add a floor. I can only imagine what that would cost, because you're going to have to.
My brain couldn't even do it.
It can be done. I've seen people do it, but I'm sure that's not a cheap alternative.
I'm sure, given the age of the building and adding to it, yeah.
Is there a fraternity or sorority house that needs to go away that we could have?
Oh, well, I'm not gonna touch that one.
Yeah, I didn't exactly mean it that way, but.
No, I understand.
But,
But if you have other questions or suggestions or anything, I figured it's just helpful to at least begin the conversation. We're not making any decision right now. We're here. We're committed to being here. We're committed to the master plan process that we're going through. You know, and looking at this building and looking at what our options are, and you know, if we get down that line, then you know, do we need to look at an alternative? Then that's a different conversation, and that's going to take more input from more people. So.
Maybe they can tear down a building somewhere so we can just have another parking garage. As much as I don't like parking garages, but we need them.
Okay.
I hate them.
So every time there's going to be public input on parking, I'm going to call you personally and say, I'm going to need you to show up at this meeting.
Well, you know, you know what it is, though? Sometimes we're all thinking about it in this part, and sometimes there's somebody will come up with something that's never even parked downtown, and they'll have this obvious answer on what to do. I don't know what it is, but.
Yeah. Multiple
curious to
minds
see it.
coming together, yes.
Yeah.
It's hard because I think after the last plan was put together and we saw the, you know, outline of each floor, we got all excited because it was a real big redesign and it was an upgrade with everything. And then we find out, oh, well, the exterior needs all of this work and it's so expensive to maintain or like bring a building up to standards to keep it a living thing for a long time. And so I think probably that's where you're at, like, oh, it's going to cost this. And we haven't even started thinking about that in that 5-year CIP. You know, we don't even have that kind of money set aside in the next 5 years. So what are we looking at as far as timeline goes? And yeah.
What we have and what we need are two
Yeah.
totally different numbers.
Yes.
And, you know, and the thing is it's also that the city we didn't know what to request. So it's just kind of numbers have been just rolling in there like, well, we know there's some needs, we just don't know what it is. So the point of the master plan is to go, now I can specifically say I need X, Y, and Z. You know, that's easier for a streets project because why they can kind of get that and put that in there versus the senior center hasn't done a major renovation, so we weren't really quite sure, you know. And there's once you start building out what it needs, you start all the other details start rolling together, and you see how you need a comprehensive plan to get it done. Because I can, you know, do this piece over here and then completely forget that, oh well, you know, we need to address the electrical issue over there if you're going to address the technology over here, you know. So it's those things and being really clear about, you know, what it takes for us to get to where we need to be, and that it's done in a way that's going to make sense and that's not going to be costly, that we have to undo something later to put in something that we knew was coming down the line. So that's been my biggest concern. I'm like, okay, that's great. It's nice to say we can go floor by floor if we're looking at a plan, but in reality, you know, we have different HVAC systems that some of them connect with 2 floors on one side and 1 floor on the other side and just only 1 floor, you know. So with 3 different systems, it's like, well, if we're going to address electricity, then we have to address all that, and then we have to look at what the technology piece need is for that piece, you know. So it's complicated. It's complicated. And so, but you know, we're all asking the right questions, and I'm really loving this discussion and the suggestions, and definitely something to think about, process, and talk with the other folks about.
Once they finish the parking garage, how many stalls does that add?
Oh, that'll open a lot. That'll open a lot of stalls. Well over 100. Well over 100. I'm sure.
But will that be enough, especially since, you know, university kids use it, which...
Yeah, I think the issue is when it opens back up. The reason why you see full a lot is because they have to accommodate for people who have parking passes already. So it's saying full to the public. So, but if you
and it
already
really
have
may
your
not
parking
be.
pass, you
Oh,
can
I
go
see.
in
That
with your
makes
parking pass
sense.
even when it's full. So they have to accommodate for folks who work here and are, you know, work downtown, but they have a pass here,
Right.
or, you know, and so that's what it's addressing. That's why it's always kind of in a state of being full, because anybody with a parking pass, if you're paying for a parking pass, you should have access to be able to come in.
No matter
It's
what.
just going to be limited. Right now it's limited right now. So, okay, I'm going to be quiet because I didn't chatted way too much. But
You chatted just
good
the right
questions,
amount and gave a
please
lot
let
of
me
good
know.
information. Thank
Yes,
you so much.
yes.
Yeah, because it helps us understand also.
Yeah, absolutely.
down the line and what we need to look at and.
Yeah, and I'll try to give you shorthand because like the documents are so many pages.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks.
Yeah.
Natasha, when we have this meeting to discuss this, will you have kind of a pro and con list for us to look at?
We definitely can put that down to make sure that we have.
I think that would be helpful as
yeah.
a starting point for discussion.
That's a good idea.
idea.
Yeah,
Because there's so many things to think about.
yeah, it's lots of pieces.
That would help, I think,
Yeah.
generate
Okay,
ideas.
makes sense.
And
We
I'm
can pull
sure you'll
something
have a
together.
public input. You know,
Yeah, I mean, we
participation
probably
stuff
won't
at
by
some
then,
point.
right? We won't by then, but we'll definitely
Right.
have.
But in the future, as
Yeah.
and then the Friends of the Center are doing their, you said, capital campaign evaluation about what kind of money they think they can bring in. That'll help inform us about what we have
Mm-hmm.
to spend, essentially. And so all of that'll come together at some point next year.
Yeah, and we're gonna once we find some finalized numbers, then it'll also help us with applying for grants. And I mean, that's gonna be limitations, right? We're not gonna get a $10 million grant. That's probably not a thing. But there may be some opportunities for historic renovation. It could be some opportunities for older adult facilities. I mean, it could be some opportunities out there. A lot of times funding comes with programming more than it comes with actual physical building updates, but it's out there. They're out there. It's just the competition's high.
Well, and that's where the new position comes in probably too.
Yes.
You need another person to, because grant writing is time
Yes.
consuming and then managing that.
Yeah, and just a lot of that stuff is just time consuming.
None of you guys have time for that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. You barely have time enough to do
spread-
what you're doing.
We're spread a little thin, and adding this master plan on top of things definitely has, stretched us a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
When you were first talking, you said something about 29 million available.
Oh, no, I said 1.9.
Okay, I thought that was. a
Yeah,
little
no,
aggressive,
20
but I thought, man, why are
We
we?
wouldn't
worried?
have this conversation if we had
Yeah.
$29 million.
Yeah, done with it.
We would be done. I wouldn't even
Be
told you
done.
guys. I'm like, oh,
We'd be
yeah, we're just
building
going to
those
pay it.
gyms for everybody in Iowa
Yeah.
City, Corville.
We wouldn't even have this
Liberty.
conversation
Everybody
at
get a
all.
gym. You get a gym. You get a gym.
Either that or we're just
Hey,
gonna
Oprah.
knock your building down because we need a parking ramp.
Right.
We can't knock
we
down
could
the
do a
historical.
whole
We
bunch
just
more
built
stuff
on
with
top.
29
Floating
million.
parking ramp above us.
Exactly,
right?
with
Right,
a
above
swimming
the
pool.
historical building. Honestly, we have that much room. We could buy that lot over there too.
True. With some programming in there
By
too.
the bank,
Oh
yeah.
my
By the bank.
goodness.
By the bank. Yeah, I like that. By
It'd be
the
nice
bank.
to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Donate all your money to the senior center.
Oh.
There we go.
I don't even see that, but
Oh.
okay.
Okay.
Maybe trust it.
Maybe.
There we
go.
Maybe.
All right. Does anybody have any more questions for Latasha about the programming update or building update?
Not about that. No.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 5, commission discussion, which we've had a lot of discussion already about this, but senior center master plan. I don't really have anything to add. We've kind of had an outline from Latasha about the timeline that's going to undertake, and now that we're working with OPN, and they're working still on getting that presentation ready, and it'll be before us in December sometime, you think. And then we'll talk more about that the following year. All right, so the next item is Senior Center Month Proclamation, which I went to the City Council and accepted in September, early September, and it's here. It hasn't been in this building until after the month of September, which is National Senior Center Month, so sorry about that. But that was pretty simple and easy. That was an interesting meeting day, though. They had other things on the agenda that were really quite interesting to listen to. So if you can get to a city council meeting, that was kind of interesting. Anybody have any questions about the proclamation? Do I need to read it or anything like that? We're good?
We're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for volunteering.
You can read it. It's here, and it'll stay here, and you guys can take a look at
We
it.
appreciate your efforts.
Yes.
We will.
Oh yeah. I did a little 3-minute speech, but they had quite the agenda, so I just kept it pretty simple. The next item is Board of Supervisors presentation, and I have scheduled us to speak at the Johnson County Board of Supervisors meeting on November 3rd. What time? I think it's 9 o'clock. Hold on. Sorry about that. I need to have the presentation ready to go by next Friday. So I kind of started working on an outline of things that I'm going to talk about to the board. Yes, 9 o'clock on Wednesday, November 3rd. It'll be me and Latasha, I believe. Correct? And Kristen, are you coming or no? I don't remember.
Probably
Okay.
not, just based on our staffing in the building right now.
Yes. I couldn't remember who. And any of you are welcome to come as well, as long as we don't have a quorum. When is it again?
The 3rd of.
Yeah, Wednesday, November 3rd at 9 a.m. at the Johnson County Administration Building, 855 South Dubuque Street.
4 or less, or 3 or less? 3 or less, right?
Yes, 3 or less. And I was reminded that we are not able to ask for any money at this particular meeting. I know that the Board of Supervisors gives a grant under their umbrella of their livable or quality of life granting process to the center every year. So, but we can't exactly ask for money at this time. That's a application process that happens a little bit further down the road, but it's a good idea to kind of get in front of that, talk about what we've been doing for the last 2 years, since it's been 2 years since I've done this presentation for them. They're giving me 15 minutes, probably because last time I talked for like 45 minutes about how awesome Latasha and Kristen and everybody here is. And I had a really long presentation, so they've limited me to 15 slides in 15 minutes. So I have just started working on an outline about what I will talk about quickly to them. And I'm going to run down the list that I've kind of worked on today, and afterwards let me know if I'm missing anything, okay? So I'll start off kind of talking about the center in generalities, things like what their classes are broken down into, so wellness, social, community engagement, lifelong learning, and that they, the function of the center for Johnson County residents, as well as Iowa City residents, but, we're talking to the Board of Supervisors, so we need to appeal to what we do for county residents. So I'm going to kind of spin it that way. I will mention the vacancies on the commission. I know that the majority of the group, 2 of the 3 people have to be Iowa City residents, but I live in Oxford, so there's 1 person that's appointed by you guys, but you apply through the application process in Iowa City to fill in my spot, and then you guys decide whether or not that person is the vacancy for the county rep. So I'll talk a little bit about just reminding them that there's vacancies existing. I do want to start off by touching on late 2019, so taking off from the last time I spoke to them, and early 2020, so before the pandemic, the things that Latasha was doing, and Kristen and everybody here who's amazing. So they had worked on the new vision statement at that time. The Public Policy Center survey just happened right before the pandemic, so I'll talk a little bit about that. She started the capital improvement project process by hiring that first group to do the first master plan that we had, kind of talking about what they were going to look at. We worked on a T-shirt. Do you guys remember all the way back to there? Wow. I know, it's been a while. There was an update on the 1-year anniversary of the Simple and Free Pantry Exchange happened about that time. So I'll do kind of an update about at that point and this point, all of the successes with the pantry. And there was an emergency preparedness awareness event with public health. So talking a little bit about the partnerships that were made right before the pandemic hit. And then the pandemic, and so I want to talk about really the steps Latasha and everybody here has taken to keep everybody safe in our community, yet keep connected to everybody. So to continue that vision statement, even though we had to close down. So talking about all the phone calls that were made, making sure people had access to services, making sure people had the technology set up so that they could participate still. She began the virtual coffee with the coordinator. Are you still doing that?
No, we're not.
No?
doing that.
Okay. But that still happened and you reached out to people. We're going to say it. You had the coronavirus chat line with the rehab and counselor education students to make sure you kept, people kept in contact if they felt isolated and they needed someone to talk to. You started the Give Back Garden, I think that's what it's called.
Summer. That started this summer. Yeah.
This summer it started, and that was added to the pantry. I know that was kind of a comment that was made from this group, fresh fruits and veggies in the pantry, and you listen to those things and you take it and you make it happen. So I appreciate that. The vaccination clinics, this will be a big one. I know Latasha and I worked on that together. We had a really great group of people who met regularly to talk about vaccines and getting the word out and getting people access to them, whether they had transportation barriers, language barriers, financial barriers, I don't know, documentation barriers, all of those barriers.
In general.
Technology barrier was a big one, with people not being able to log into Hy-Vee and book their appointment. There's a lot of people that weren't able to do that. So gaps in community needs, so the peer meetings that you attended with me, which was really helpful. And the things that continued during the pandemic that never, took a break. So SHIP counseling never took a break. You still kept the tax program going, right?
No, we didn't keep the tax program going because we were able to try to refer people
Did you refer to people like to VITA or whatever?
To different things. Some of those programs all kind of shut down because they were required to be in person because of signatures.
Make a note about that. Yeah. Thank you.
We tried. We definitely tried, and we did a lot of work trying to find solutions for people and where we could send people instead. So, yeah.
Yep. Cool. Well, Trail continued and was a helpful partner in a couple things like the mask program. So partnering with people was helpful, and they're still here. The visiting nurses is now back and running and going, and all that stuff is still here, and they have a space for services. The master plan process, you had to restart over again. So, but that still happened, and you got some things done in the building that you could do when people weren't in it, which is probably good. And you did a couple things like the floor numbering changes. You moved the reception desk downstairs, all of that stuff. So I have a few numbers that Kristen sent me. We've been emailing this week about all of the types of events that you guys, or classes you held. So 26 wellness in the last fiscal year, 22 social, 27 community engagement, 102 lifelong learning virtual classes, which is amazing.
Actually, you wouldn't believe that number is significantly smaller than what we normally. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it.
I know. And
90 programs like that every 3 to 4 months. It's just incredible.
I know. So it was a significant shift in number down from regular operating in person, what you can do here, but it still is
it's impressive.
Amazing number. And the emails that you guys kept up, and the mailings started back up again, which is, so everything is falling back into place. And your projections for next year are back up, right? The numbers are back up to kind of normal. So keep on going. I appreciate all your work on that. The 40th birthday party, I'll mention that it was COVID conscious and safe and well attended. You adopted the equity standard. Did the language in that get changed at all? I may email you and ask.
It's something I have to bring back to you all. I didn't think people were opposed to it. I think it was just kind of like, oh, okay. We are working on the equity board will be right here in this hallway. So
awesome.
You'll be able to see more cultural appreciation type things out there in the hallway.
Awesome.
Starting next month, I think.
Yeah, and I noticed that the number of activities that you guys did in classes that really touched on diversity appreciation and other culture appreciation was shot up significantly in 2 years. So it went from like 8 to 30 or something like that. So I appreciate that work too. It's really important. And I'll talk a little bit about how you did the phased reopening and you wanted to make sure it was safe and people were comfortable coming back into the building. So, that you did the survey with the teachers and talked to them whether they wanted to stay virtual or were really eager to come back in person and, really modified it to the comfort level of the people who are teaching, because that's important. That's your intellectual capital there that they're sharing with you and with all of us. So keeping them safe is important. And then for fiscal year 22, so current fiscal year, and continuing that facility master plan stuff, I'll mention the Friends of the Center feasibility study for the capital campaign. So the Board of Supervisors, as somebody who used to work for them, they like it when you can supplement or use funds that you get to leverage other funds. Mm-hmm. So if you're not out there doing the community educational part about the things you bring to the community, if you're not, going out to the community for support financially, or, rah-rah support too, we'll take that, or spreading the word, then they're a little bit more hesitant about just handing you money. So they want to see you do things with it. So the Friends of the Center, just the work that they do is important as well. And then, there's just, that you're spending a little more also on instructor fees in the next fiscal year, so you can bring in paid instructors and kind of some cool stuff. I'm sure that's going to be used towards. So that was my outline so far. Anybody have anything to add? That I only get 15 minutes to say all of this. So.
I'm going to be curious to see how much of that you actually get in there then, 15 minutes.
Yeah. We may need to combine,
Might need to condense.
we may skip a year
little
and
bit.
just highlight one or two things.
5 points.
Yeah, there'll be a presentation. There'll be pictures and stuff. I won't need to describe
We'll hit
it.
highlights.
But
We'll hit highlights, and I think one thing that's really important that I care about, this is the social worker in me, is that we work really hard to make sure that cost is not something that is prohibiting people from participating. So one thing that I'm working on that doesn't exist just yet is to have to expand our scholarship program to be able to provide art kits and different things like that, so that if people want to, they might get a discount on the class, or the class is free because we're covering it with our friends' dollars. But if they don't have the equipment, then that's not great, right? So it's like we can have this class and we can say, okay, we got the cost down to zero, but do you have the paintbrushes? Do you have the paints? So just trying to find ways when there's certain classes that require materials that are not included in the classroom cost to be able to provide low to no cost kits to go with those classes, because we, looking at it, you're like, yeah, I can reduce this, but you can't participate. So it's kind of like the kid that gets to go on the basketball team, but he can't afford the tennis shoes, right? So it's like, well, let's just go ahead and pay for the tennis shoes so you can fully participate. So we're working on that too. I'm always looking at ways that we can cut costs. I know that our older adults, everyone's funds ain't flowing the same way, and so definitely looking into that. I mean, it kind of comes off of that Simple and Free Pantry of really being really conscious that low cost, no cost programming and needs are real. Those that can afford it, we love that. It's helpful for us, but those who do not still should have the same access to.
Yeah, and I think I do have the spread of numbers about what free programs and open to everybody, and the fact that it kind of extended outside of Johnson County because people were able to attend virtually. I know we've talked about that a lot in this group, is excitement at the number of people who are able to participate and not be isolated now because of the virtual programming, and then continuing that on after you come back, so those people can still have connections that they've newly made. You don't want to rip that from them.
Right.
But yeah, I appreciate all the free programming that came out of the pandemic.
It's
I mean,
been
I know you were
great.
doing it before. Too,
Yeah, of
but
course, of
yeah,
course.
lots of free programming.
I think it was just more highlighted because it was like you could stay at home and it's free. Just click on this, click on this link, and surprise, you get to meet 40 new friends. So that's been really great.
I love that.
All right.
That's
But, Tasha, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who decides, because it sounds like you definitely need somebody helping you, just listening to all the different things.
We do a couple things around here.
Yeah, but who decides that? Is that part of what this board tomorrow that you're talking to? Or so that, so
Who
they
decides like
add-
cost?
No, who decides if you can add another person?
Oh, yeah, that's a budgetary issue, so that would be city council. And I'm just turning in my request. I have an actual meeting with the actual like finance department, city manager folks in a couple weeks. So we're going to prepare a presentation for that. But right now, tomorrow, I just need to turn in all my paperwork. Actually, we turned it in already. Most of it. We're 98%. It's due tomorrow. We're 98%.
I mean, just listening to all of that, that would be a good,
Mm-hmm.
some of those points would be great to add as to the why the need.
Why the need for another full-time staff person? Yeah, but I don't know. Sometimes it's like, you got all that done with the people you got. That's real good.
I know, it's amazing.
People, I hate that. Oh, you'll just have to learn to do more with less.
Yeah,
I hate that sound.
that sounds like life of a social worker. Honestly, it's like, oh,
First, that's,
yeah, you understand. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, of all people right now.
we create programs out of magical dollars that don't exist, usually out of our own pockets.
Yep. I hear ya. Yeah, so the budgetary process begins about this time for the next fiscal year. So that's FY23.
Yeah, so
so
that wouldn't
we're
be
just
someone
starting
to-
it
yeah.
too. So she's requesting somebody that might start July 1st, 2022.
Oh, okay.
So you're asking for the money to be added to your budget for next year, and then they approve the budget. They work on the budget in January, February, and then they approve it in March, and then it gets published to the state.
And then it's a much longer process
Yeah.
to develop the
well,
job
of course,
description
because
and to go through the
And then the job search
It's all
starts.
government.
right. Any of that union, non-union, like it. By the time we would get around to it, it would be December, January of the next year.
Which they actually like when you plan for a December, January start, because then you only have half of the cost of
Fiscal
the
year, that
salary
first
to
year.
budget for. Yes. And then you push it off the following year to worry about that full salary. So
It's a process. It's government moves a little glacial
No,
sometimes.
and I realize that,
I know you know.
especially working with the VNA.
Yeah, I know you know. Nonprofits, governments, all those, slow process. But you also understand the checks and balances in it too.
Also
So
fill out extra forms.
yes, it will create lots of documents for us to create.
But transparency is so important.
It is
Documenting
really
that
important.
stuff is so important.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of that work in North Liberty, just pushing out things like where we're at in our strategic plan, and just letting people know that we think about things and spending the money really conscientiously.
Yeah.
And we hem and haw over every dollar, really. I mean, and when things don't get done, it's, more costly to do it 2 years later because it's more expensive and it's even worse shape and all that jazz. So,
Indeed.
yeah. All right. Well, I will be, and Latasha will be there November 3rd. If people want to join us, maybe email Kristen and let her know, and she'll let us know.
As long as the whole board doesn't show up, it'll be fine. oh yeah. Oops. Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner's report of community correspondence. So we added this a couple months ago. I know some of you weren't here. If you want to bring up anything, now we can't have a discussion about it because it's not actually written out on the agenda that we're going to discuss it. But you can bring up things that you heard in the community or that you want to bring up to the group and just mention and make a comment about it. So this was kind of the spot where as we start talking about things, if we start thinking about things that aren't on the agenda that we might want to bring up, this is the time to do it. And we are all tired and ready to go. Future agenda items, so things that we want to have put on the the November meeting agenda. That would be November 18th at 4 p.m. and it'll be here.
Yeah, if it's possible, sorry, I know this is you all's discussion, but actually, we had one other board member resign, so it'll be actually an additional spot that will be open. So on the next agenda, just having some discussion of recruitment, of getting more people, because we'll be definitely under our number that we need for January to be able to make any decisions, which would not be good, given that we have such a heavy lift potentially here with the building discussions. So.
Yeah. And I know that if you serve one term, you can reapply for a second term.
Yes, you
and
can.
serve 2 terms in a row, but then you have to be done after that, correct?
Yep.
And you have to have a break in
Yep.
between.
Yep.
So I know maybe you're on your second term now.
Yep, she's
Yeah,
finishing
okay.
6 years.
And are you on your second term?
I am.
Me?
Oh, yeah, you are.
Yep.
Yep.
I was first.
Okay. Well, you can reapply and come back for 3 years,
And so could you.
I know. Latasha says she needs us.
Can you reapply?
Yeah.
Or could you have
Yeah,
to
she
be
can reapply
reappointed?
as a county
Can
rep.
you at end of 3 you can?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was after.
Or at the end of 3 years, you can reapply for a second 3-year term.
Yeah.
Okay.
You, have
So, yeah.
you still have to be reappointed, but
Yeah.
you can apply.
Just
And
wondering.
they're more likely to, if you're an incumbent with the time to,
Anyways, just any other agenda items that we want to discuss? I know that there was one point where we were talking, and this might also mesh in with the discussion about recruitment, but I would love to know what kind of networks that we're all a part of that maybe we could bring, awareness or connect with the center. So we had talked about at one point talking about that, reaching out to like Rotary or, doing presentations to the groups that we're involved in about the center and about the needs of the center, doing some promo stuff. So maybe we could talk about bringing that idea back now that we're starting to meet in person again, places that might help. Anybody else? All right. And it is 5:12, and I call this adjourned.